Good solve, Louie. Quite the big cat puzzle. Certainly solved by new rescue Louie, who I am just so excited to introduce to everyone today. Hello, and welcome to a live post here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. You are joining us live as today we share our involvement in a rescue that happened on the West Coast here in the United States. And it was quite the rescue, and that's putting it lightly. And so I'm looking forward to not only talking about that rescue and the details that we can share, but talking about new rescue Jaguar Louie here. And Louie is one of 4 rescues who came to us from an infamous roadside zoo in Bandon, Oregon. And Louie is one of 4 rescues who's benefiting from the love, care, support, and compassion of people like you who are watching this live post. And Louie is one of 4 cats who get to look back on a former life that was full of neglect, didn't have anything like the word compassion or care, and they get to look back on that life and know it's far behind them now that they're here at Sanctuary, at the Wildcat Sanctuary. So hello and welcome, everyone. Louie is certainly enjoying himself in his free roaming habitat. You would have learned this morning that the Wildcat Sanctuary took part in a large-scale rescue on the west coast of the United States earlier this year. We at the Wildcat Sanctuary were actually right there on the ground in charge of sedating and moving the total of 15 wildcats or exotic cats that were at this property. And as I mentioned, us offering a forever home to Jaguar Louie here, Nasha, the lioness, Lila, the Eurasian lynx, and Bentley, the leopard, and all unique in their own right, all with incredible stories that they've overcome before coming to the sanctuary, and all that we're looking forward to introducing you to pretty much starting today through next week, getting to know Louie a little bit more, getting to know Lila, Miss Nasha, and Mr. Bentley. But hello and welcome, everybody. Glad to have about 80 of you watching with us today. It is Tuesday here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, and often on Tuesday we get to share some very exciting news. And you probably learned via our e-newsletter and social media that we have taken part in a rescue here at the Wildcat Sanctuary this past May. And we were running point on that would be removing 15 big cats from the closed down roadside zoo in Bandon, Oregon. And there's lots of great news articles that really kind of describe some of the conditions, but we're able to share what, of course, is the information that's available to the public, as it still is an ongoing investigation. But this long ongoing investigation into the West Coast Game Safari Park in Bandon was suspected not only that there was animal welfare violations going on the property, but also criminal statute violations. And when the park was raided earlier this May, not only was the full scope of the animal welfare violations revealed, but as well as there being drugs on the property. Methamphetamine was found, cocaine was found, as well as illegal firearms and cash on the property, and which then just lends itself to knowing that there's perhaps something much deeper going on. But as I said, this is an ongoing investigation, and we really do encourage you to go and maybe look at some of the headlines that were shared during the time of this police seizure, as you can learn from some of the rather stark details of the conditions of this park, how there was over 300 plus animals on this property, only one caretaker there to care for all 300 of those animals. You would learn some of the conditions at that property. You would also learn tragic things like, it pains me to say it, there was a dead tiger found in a freezer and other dead zoo animals that were being kept in a freezer, the same freezer that they were feeding food out of. But nonetheless, there's a lot to kind of look back and be fortunate of knowing that a place like where Lucifer was rescued from is now closed, and the fact that that this investigation is ongoing and that they're going to be seeking a proper outcome for, of course, the cats involved and to get justice for those animals in this situation. Hello and welcome everyone, about 140 of you watching today. Wouldn't you know, it's just one of those days when Facebook doesn't want to show me the comments, but I know, I can only imagine about 140 of you are making your voices heard as we introduce Mr. Louie today to everyone here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. Mr. Louie is a Jaguar. Louie is our second ever rescued resident Jaguar. You would know Diablo Guapo as our first ever rescued Jaguar. Louie at the park originally was named Lucifer, and we've since given Louie Lucifer a nickname as Louie. And Lucifer at the park, another thing that's an important thing to kind of talk about as we look back on where these cats were rescued from, and not only the conditions that they were living in, but what these animals were unfortunately forced to do. Louie here as a cub, and you might have seen some of those photos in our on our social media or an e-newsletter. Louie is a former pay-to-pay cub. And what was happening is that Louie was used for interactions with the public. Louie was brought onto a stage and fed a bottle and led around on a dog leash so people could take photos and see this wildcat right there in person, not hidden behind bars. And we know that this is a very common practice and an unfortunate practice that has led many rescues here to the Wildcat Sanctuary, but knowing that the passage of the Big Cat Public Safety Act happened in May of 2021, which would prohibit things like I'm describing, well, this was even happening after the passage of the Big Cat Public Safety Act. So that free contact with animals happening past the past the passing of that law is, I think, just gives you a good thermometer for the level of just maybe how ethical this operation was. I can talk a little bit about the free-roaming habitat that Louie's in, and of course how it pales in comparison to the space that he was rescued from, and talking about Louie's, kind of his time of service as a pay-to-pay cub, and he's rewarded with nothing more than being virtually condemned to a small concrete cage for the remainder of his life. But now Louie here at Sanctuary, Louie's not going to have things like concrete. He's going to have things like soft grass. He's going to have platforms for the first time. He's going to have, well, like you've been seeing here, he's going to have pools. Louie has really made it known that pool enrichment is something he is very much fond of. And of course, many of our rescues, when they come to the sanctuary, we have a formal quarantine period. And Louie was living up in our quarantine area. So not only we could help get him to the happy and healthy leopard that you see now that I'm going to be talking about here in a moment, but also it's just to get them off on the right foot. And those more kind of concentrated spaces in quarantine, hey, you may think we want to release this cat right into the largest habitat that we have. But often knowing that these animals have been kept in these much smaller spaces for the entire duration of their lives, those quarantine yards were a little bit more, which are a little bit more contracted or smaller, offer a great kind of first jumping off point for rescues like Mr. Louie. And Louie, unfortunately, was not the full-bodied, curious, and, happy leopard that you see here upon his rescue. Louie, as you would imagine, didn't have the happiest life. And And Mr. Louie is now receiving quite the opposite of that here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. And in Louie's former life, he unfortunately was quite underweight when he was rescued. Louie is a little skeptical of humans, which is also understandable. And we also could tell that Louie just had a very, very busy mind. And so, what do you think the Wildcat Sanctuary is going to take upon themselves to do is we're going to set Louie on the right track. We're going to observe some of those things that I just mentioned. Like, okay, well, he is underweight. We need to get him on the right diet. Okay, he's got a busy mind, and we need to start figuring out a good enrichment plan for him. And then we're just going to kind of monitor him day to day as we continue to get to know this cat, as we continue to give him the things that he's always needed and ensure that he is on a road to recovery. And Louie has done exactly that. Louie has gained weight. Louie is curious and stimulated in a good way. He's not maybe impatient or maybe confused about his surroundings as he was when he first arrived. Louie's confident. Louie is, well, he's realizing that his life is finally different here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, and he's realizing that the people here care about him and that he comes first. And for the first time in Louie's life, this is just a first for him. And this is what you are making possible for rescues like him, are these complete 180s. It looks like I have some comments flowing in here, and about 155 of you watching, and that is just so awesome to have such a large audience with us today, and happy to have you along here with us at the Wildcat Sanctuary. Maybe you've been following along ever since you heard about the Oregon rescue way back in May. I know that we were able to share some headlines and our involvement in the rescue, but maybe you're from Bandon, maybe you're aware of this zoo, maybe you're from Oregon, and you are just so happy that that zoo, this infamous roadside zoo, perhaps one of the most infamous and notorious roadside zoos in Bandon, Oregon, has finally closed down. And if you are, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Maybe you're just coming from another corner of the internet. And talk about how Louie's getting accustomed to sanctuary life. He loves his caretakers. But maybe, hey, you're just coming from some other corner of the internet and tuning in on this live post here. Well, you are watching a new rescue enjoy a compassionate rescued life here at the Wildcat Sanctuary. And this rescue, well, living a life like they do here at the sanctuary, it's not possible without all the wonderful folks like you watching. I think Louie's being a little coy with me behind his shade cloth here. And that Louie, and of course all of our rescues, as we set them out on their new Wild at Heart life here at the Wildcat Sanctuary, one of the things that helps build that support system around them, yes, Mr. Louie, I don't know how I feel about you going after the shade cloth. What if I go over here? One of the best ways to start building a support system around them is to offer them sponsorship. And a cat like Louie would be available for sponsorship, and that allows a one-on-one connection with you and Louie from afar, where you not only, of course, get to support him financially, but you get to know that you're doing something special for a cat. You get wonderful things like sponsor updates, photos, cat clips, and knowing, again, that you are doing something, well, much, much larger than all of us. You're benefiting a rescued life from a Jaguar who needed it so, so very much. Well, hey, Mr. Curious. Hey, Mr. Curious. And as you can see, I don't think I ever kind of segued into it, but as you can see, Louie the Jaguar has lots and lots of options to get up high and seek that vertical space. Certainly knowing that our wildcat rescues are different species, though they may all be wildcats. Some wildcats are built different. Mr. Louie here, he's a climber. He wants all the opportunity to get up high and not only seek that security that height offers him, but also I think it's just fun for cats like Louie to get up high. It helps give them those vantage points. They get to see their neighbors here at Sanctuary. And knowing that this space is lined with these skywalks, and Louie can virtually almost navigate this entire area without touching the ground. You can see him doing some cleaning off of his paws here, and certainly keeping a close eye on the paparazzi too. I'm going to go through a few comments here, everyone. A few comments, as in 4 that popped up. Tanya Toner saying he's so handsome. Certainly, Tanya. Rita saying, new life, new name. Glad his name is Louie now. Much better. Yep, and that's right. So Louie, formerly Lucifer, Lucifer being his given name at the West Coast Game Safari Park, and that's maybe it doesn't have the best connotation for some, and knowing that Lucifer, it is your giving name, but I think Louie works just fine for this handsome guy, and I also now get to sing Louie Louie, oh yeah, every time I sing you, Louie. So if that's an opportunity for me to have another little cat jingle stuck in my head, then I will take it. But I think there's also kind of some symbolism in kind of having a name change or a name adaptation for a cat like Lucifer, talking about the types of things that he left behind, the conditions at this facility, how he was treated as a former pay-to-play cub. Like I said, there's just a little bit something kind of meaningful about shedding that former name as you step into a new life, and having that new identity almost, Mr. Lucifer. There's no denying the fact about where you came from, but I just think that there's just a little something, it's maybe hard to put words to it, Mr. Louie here. I know we may be hanging out right here at the habitat wall with Louie, but believe me, he's got a whole free roaming space that he enjoys. And I talked a little bit about kind of how Louie settled into sanctuary, and that not every cat settles into sanctuary at the same pace. Not every cat settles into sanctuary in the same way as, for example, Sushi, Sushi's very much settled into sanctuary, but her maybe threshold, or just how she goes about her day to day, is a lot different than maybe some other cats who are quote unquote settled in the sanctuary in their own way. A good example of settling into sanctuary is Louie showing off him accessing his indoor bedroom. Every single one of our rescues here at the Wildcat Sanctuary has 24/7 access to an indoor building. Cats like Louie, they get to come and go as they please. He has a shift yard that connects, boom, right to his free roaming habitat, where he can do all the Jaguar hijinks that his heart desires. But nonetheless, when we were meeting Mr. Louie and we were kind of assessing how he was settling into sanctuary, we noticed that Louie is a very busy cat, busy in his mind, I should say, and that he was, certainly maybe unaware that this big change has happened. So I think that was part of this transition. I think just any type of new surroundings for any rescued cat, no matter if they're coming from as poor as conditions as where Louie was rescued from, it can just be jarring, long and short. So anyways, that was just kind of pointing us in the direction of, okay, well, let's start making some changes for Louie. Some of the first things we started doing was outfitting his habitat with an overabundance of platforms, perches, things like that. We were wanting to give him any and all spaces to crawl or get under or on top of. Of course, Louie started getting unique enrichment introduced to him. He found out that frozen watermelons floating in his pool is very fun. Louie was getting about a frozen watermelon every single day because, again, we were wanting to make sure that busy mind that was doing its best to settle into sanctuary was able to have the types of things that are going to help that process along. And then we kind of get to see Louie, and knowing that he was rescued all the way back here in May, and we're almost coming into September, at the end of August here, we get to kind of see the product of all that hard work. When I first met Louie, you could see his spinal cord along his back. You cannot see that anymore. You could see some distinction of his rib cage, which you can no longer see anymore. I have a cat who doesn't sprint up to me for food every time I see him, which is some of the earlier interactions that I had with Mr. Louie in quarantine. And we have a cat who is more relaxed. This is a much more relaxed version of Louie than what we first saw when he came to Sanctuary. And again, you know that here at TWS, if I can get my point in, Mr. Louie, as you ham around and show us that silver Jaguar belly of yours. Who knows? I lost my point, but nonetheless, it's been great spending some time here with new rescue Louie, talking about the Oregon Roadside Zoo Rescue. Tip goes the barrel. And just enjoying, oh, wow, great balance, Louie. Great balance. Oh, man. You get your golden star for the day and then some. Oh, wonderful. We are just having a blast with new rescue Louie here, and certainly having a blast here at Sanctuary, and it offers a good comparison to Louie's former life. By now, I know many of you have probably read the e-newsletter that hit inboxes this morning, which details a lot of the public information that's available regarding the conditions of this park and how fortunate we are to have been able to take part in that rescue, how fortunate we are to have been able to run point on sedating, crating, and moving, and getting all 15, with the exception of these 4, to accredited rescue sanctuaries here in the United States. And it's been a long time coming, Mr. Bentley, excuse me, Bentley, Louie, since meeting you in May. And it's also been quite the transformation since meeting you in May. And those transformations are thanks to everyone's support. And we mentioned a little bit earlier about, of course, how Louie is up for sponsorship and how sponsorship is one of the most excellent ways to welcome new rescues here to their new Wild at Heart life at the Sanctuary. But as well as, hey, if you just wanted to give a general donation of $5, $10 right here on this Facebook post, if you wanted to give us a call and give a gift that way for these new Oregon rescues, that, of course, is always appreciated too. That gift of sponsorship, can be lofty for some. And so, hey, maybe a smaller gift is how you would like to contribute and welcome these new Oregon cats in your own special way. And it never goes without saying, especially, 140 of you watching here, that the Wildcat Sanctuary is a 501c3 nonprofit. Everything that you see here at the Sanctuary, from the awesome hardworking folks who are paid employees caring for cats like Louie, to the delicious diet that helped get Louie on the right track, to the vet care that he's going to receive from his entire life. That is all derived directly from your donations and your support. And it's always worth kind of underscoring that as a nonprofit, it's up to us to make sure that the rescues here at the Wildcat Sanctuary are seen for the rest of their lives. And we're so fortunate to have this web of support that helps us make that possible, not just for Louie, but his new 150 plus rescued friends. And it's pretty incredible, Mr. Louie. Maybe a good angle to explore the habitat a bit, but a few shade cloths up there because Louie's had a few hangout spots up on top of the shade cloths. So still giving him an opportunity to, stay out of the sun while being up on his skywalks. But if we kind of follow the skywalks over, this was a fun little A-frame log structure that a pair of volunteers made for us that Louie has very much been enjoying. I've been doing my best. I think we know Shazam to have one of those logs, and Shazam will really let his legs hang off. I have not seen Louie let his legs hang off, but he certainly loves just kind of loafing up on top of that larger kind of A-frame log here. But then, of course, I'm sure you're obviously noticing all types of grass, foliage. Certainly, we like letting our habitats, mimic the wild. We still want to give them some grooming, some, kind of upkeep. But still, not only with some of the kind of, actual human-made habitat modifications like the perch, platform, skywalk, Louie has really much been enjoying just climbing into a bush or the brambles or what have you. It's been wonderful to see that. And again, everyone, I apologize. It's just one of those days where, hey, we have good service, so I don't think I should wag my finger too much at Facebook. But it's one of those days where the comments don't show up. So I know that you guys are giving Louie the warmest welcome in the comments, and I appreciate that. And don't worry, I'm not excluding you from the conversation either. I think half the reason these live posts are so wonderful is because you guys are right here watching along with me as we are visiting with the cats that we all love. But hey, I can keep chatting, Mr. Louie. We'll hang out for a little bit longer here, but Louie is one of 4 who were rescued from that abandoned roadside zoo. And Louie, you are also going to kind of be the focal point tomorrow. We're going to be meeting Lila, the Eurasian lynx, on Thursday. And next week, we'll be formally meeting Nasha, the lioness, and Bentley, the leopard. And just like Mr. Lucifer here, all unique in their own right, all with, those unique characteristics and traits that our caretakers are oh so mindful of as we're getting to know new rescues here at the sanctuary. But I think not only from, Louie's story, not only from Louie's kind of 180 coming here from sanctuary, and not only for Louie's looks, but Louie is certainly, he's certainly become a favorite of a lot of the caretakers and interns, and he certainly is a beautiful cat. And when you really kind of put it all together of, well, he's beautiful, and he's in a much, much different condition and better condition than when we first met Louie. And knowing that all the things that he has laying in front of him here for the remainder of his wild at heart life is pretty cool. So, Louie, there's a lot of reasons to get excited about you. Let's zoom in on some of the patterns here. Really is quite the beautiful coat, and is very reminiscent of Riku, the rescued Bengal up in Catio Town. I think that Louie and Riku have a lot of similarities when it comes to their looks, and Riku being a little old Bengal hybrid, and Mr. Louie being a full-on Jaguar here. But though Louie is a fierce Jaguar, just like our felines at home after mealtime, what time is it? It's grooming time. So I'm glad we've been able to hang out with Mr. Lou as he gets himself prim and proper, and as he kind of shows off his skywalks too. But we'll hang out for a little bit longer, folks. And again, I'm just remiss. I wish I could go through some of your comments, but nonetheless, I'm glad we've been able to talk Louie, talk about where Louie's came from, talk about how important your support is to cats like Louie as he sets out on a new life here at Sanctuary. And then also just urge everyone. I know that, we can only share what is available to the public, but if you'd like to go and read, it is the West Coast Game Park Safari in Bandon, Oregon. If you just typed West Coast Game Park Safari, Oregon, closed or closure, you can go and read any number of news articles that's going to go into detail and perhaps show you some photos and video that we weren't able to share on the Wildcat Sanctuary page of the types of conditions that Louie was rescued from. And unfortunately, how the animal welfare violations at this facility were ongoing, and how it was a long time coming before these animals could finally be saved. It's certainly an important read, and I think that that's just one of the major things that we need to do here at the Wildcat Sanctuary is keep on giving perspective as to where these cats came from and why we do what we do and how we're able to do it with your support. Oh, Mr. Lou. Lou Dog. Louie, Louie. Oh, yeah. Well, marvelous, everyone. I think that we've had a really wonderful live post with new rescue Louie. Kind of from top to bottom, we talked about the Oregon rescue. We talked about how Louie's been acclimating here at the sanctuary. We talked about the transformation that Louie has made. When I first met this Jaguar, I could see the notches in his spine. You could see the definition of his ribs. The cat that we see today well, the cat that we met is a shell of the cat we see today. And that, of course, is thanks to people like you. And we are just now able to share details on this rescue that happened in May at that West Coast Game Park Safari. And we'll be continuing to share those details through next week, as well as introducing the fellow cats that joined us on that rescue. That would be Bentley Leopard, Lioness Nasha, and Lila the Eurasian Lynx. So everyone, thank you for joining us on this live post. Thank you for making it, well, a very, very wonderful Wild at Heart life for a cat like Lucifer. And just everyone, thank you for the support that you do, because even behind the scenes, this is one of the things I didn't talk about, is that we were doing that rescue all behind the scenes without you even knowing about it. And that's just yet another example of what your support does for us, is it allows us to work behind the scenes and do what the Wildcat Sanctuary needs to do to get cats to sanctuary, to get cats to a life that they've always deserved. So thank you for that, everyone. But for now, have an excellent rest of your Tuesday. Thank you again for continuing to give Louie and his 3 new rescued pals a warm Wildcat Sanctuary welcome. But again, for now, have an excellent rest of your day, and we'll see you soon, everyone.